You're now joining Cats on Guard, the #1 podcast about life behind the cockpit door. We're going to share the untold stories from the sky. We're talking crazy layovers, oddball crew members, hotel and restaurant views, and more.
I'm MC Howe. From instructing, piloting, flight attending, I've been doing this since the 90s.
And I'm Captain Richard, and I've been doing this since 2006.
Hey, we're going to spill secrets from the sky.
Wouldn't that be dive bombing?
Lav dumping.
Welcome to Cats on Guard.
Welcome back to Cats on Guard. I am MC Howe. Joining me as always is Rich Million. That's okay. You feel the need to introduce yourself?
Captain Richard Million here.
Yeah. So I had an interesting, when I called you, or I texted you today to set up this recording on my way home, I had just gotten home from Costco, and I think it's something about, it's either says something about who we are as pilots or about maybe the company I keep. But you were on your way home from Costco, which I found absolutely amusing.
2 days a week, you have about 100% chance of finding me coming home from Costco.
2 days a week? That's a lot of money spent.
It depends how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, it is bedtime. I know you commented on my pajamas. I've been waiting up all night. And I think what I need is for your kids to grow older so that they can be in school when I'm off during the day and we can record these when the sun is shining.
Well, I wouldn't want my kids home to see those plaid pajamas. So,
well, yeah. And from what I understand, you've been home a lot lately anyway, haven't you?
Sure have.
You've been sick.
I have.
Gosh.
I haven't needed to use any sick days, but...
Well, isn't that just a fun little quirk of the job, isn't it? Yeah. So you've been sick for a long time. You haven't had to go use any sick time. Have you been to the... Geez, you're coughing right now. My God.
I am not coughing. There's a mute button, and none of you will know about it.
No, I know. But your doctor might know about it, would he?
Well, I have a doctor that lives in my house, so I don't always have to go to the doctor.
Ah, well, that's clever. But does your house doctor in any way... So I have to go to a doctor every few months to get checked out to tell me that I'm safe to fly. Can your house doctor do that?
I think you're older than me, and you do have to see them more than once a year. But I only have to see an aviation doctor once a year.
That's still the deal. Is that for you because of the nature of your job or your age?
Age, and job. So first class medicals.
Yeah. I've been this old for
class.
Well, now what I was going to say, I've been this old for a while, so I can't remember how long I've been going twice a year. It seems like a long, long time.
Yeah, I go once a year right now, and I did my first EKG qualifier a couple of years ago. There's a lot of levels and a lot of things to keep this professional flying job legal, right? We require a first-class medical certificate at my company. Not all private companies require that, but the airlines do.
They do. And since we're bringing that up, let's remind everybody once again that we are Cats on Guard, and we are the podcast that talks about all the things that everybody has always wanted to know. We are going to be sharing lots of secrets and insights, just in case you've ever wondered if you're interested in becoming a pilot or joining the airlines in any capacity, be it flight crew, flight attendants, ground crew, gate agents. We don't know all of that stuff, but we can help you figure out some of it. And today we're going to talk all about the dreaded medical certificate, the aviation medical examiner. These are the doctors that tell us whether or not it is safe for us to fly you around.
So you mean to tell me that I can't just get a pilot's license and go fly?
I don't think that's how it works. No. I don't know how the Wright brothers did it. They kind of
didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't have anybody to tell them what
to do. They said, go ahead and crash, and I think they did, at least once or twice. Didn't they?
At least.
So, no, yeah. We follow a pretty stringent medical criteria when we have to fly, and it can be pretty daunting a lot of the time. And part of the gig is finding that really good doctor that only keeps you flying rather than tries to stop you from flying.
Well, let me stop you there.
Sure.
To elaborate on the medical certificate and the pilot certificate relationship, they are one in each other, if you will. You can't operate one without the other. So if you can't get a medical, you can't get a pilot's license.
Like you would
If you
never have
can't
a
get a pilot's
jelly. You would never have a jelly sandwich without the peanut butter.
I disagree. I love jelly sandwiches.
Well, it's not a
With or
sandwich.
without them. And I love peanut butter sandwiches. I don't always mix them.
Okay, well, that's weird, but
all right. Agree to
but you're
disagree.
right. We absolutely do. In fact, one of the things that we always have to present our credentials if we go hopping around on jump seats. We're supposed to present both our pilot certificate and our medical certificate to the captain of the plane.
I think we went over jump seating in a previous episode. Jump seating's catching a ride. They're kind of like hitching a bus. Show your ID, hitch a ride on them. If they need a ride somewhere, they hitch a ride on you. We reciprocate just to refresh everyone at home.
Right. I'm going to be doing this in 2 days. My dear friend Prissy Bauer has invited me on a trip to New York City. I'm kind of a fill-in for a guy whose dog got sick. So I'm like, if the dog was healthy, I wouldn't be going, but he needed a playmate. So I'm going to be meeting him and I'm going to be jump seating over there with my freshly minted medical certificate that I got just a few weeks ago.
Very nice.
Yeah.
How long was your doctor visit to get this certificate?
If it was 10 minutes, it's because we spent a portion of it talking about and this is the doctor's word, the midget who plays for the Harlem Globetrotters.
All right.
I think I talked about that. I was in there, first thing out of his mouth. Did you know that the Globetrotters have a midget playing on that team? So we spent...
But there was something medical about this appointment, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I was there to get a certificate. Here's the thing. That's a highly offensive thing to say, okay? The term is little people or dwarf, and I don't profess to know it, but I know it is not the M word that he used. However, he is the kind of doctor that you want to keep at all costs because he does not really go down any deep holes, if I can say that.
So you tolerate political incorrectness in exchange for an easy certification annually or biannually.
Yeah, it's listen to my heart, listen to my lungs. How are you doing? Pee in a cup, you're good to go.
Hey, pee in a cup, is that for drugs?
I guess. Drugs, alcohol, it's not? What is it for? What is it for?
So I went a little while without a medical after the pee test.
Oh, tell me that story.
There was sugar in my urine.
Okay.
And that's what that test's for. Well, if you are becoming a diabetic, it will start working its way past your kidneys and into your urine.
Oh.
So that's an indicator.
And is this how they found the diabetes in you?
That is correct.
And then what happened?
Well, they said, I can't give you a medical right now, but we don't know if this is an error. You can get blood work to back it up if you want to try to prove yourself healthy. So I went across the street to the hospital and got some quick blood work, brought the lab work back. And unfortunately, it was not a mistake.
Okay, so you're still flying.
Absolutely.
You were proven to have diabetes, so it's not
Type 2.
It's not a debilitating or disqualifying condition. However, I believe that you did have to stop flying for a little while.
I did. There's a process. If they find something that disqualifies you from redoing your medical certificate or obtaining it for the first time, it goes to review in Oklahoma City.
And then these guys decided, I mean, I don't know who these guys are or what the doctors, I presume.
I've never seen them. Never
no one's
spoke to
ever
them.
seen
Just
them.
this magical
they stay behind
Hogwarts
the curtain.
Board of,
yeah,
there's a board of wizards at Hogwarts somewhere. No,
so they go.
That's not trademark to say.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because I have a friend who, or had a friend about 20 years ago who had the same issue come up, and he had to stop flying for quite a while. And eventually one night he went to bed and woke up dead.
Oh boy, didn't
And
wake up. Oh,
well,
I'm sorry.
yeah, well, I'm over it. It's been 20 years, and actually it was kind of funny. Um, and he would have loved this story. I got out of the shower one day. I was getting ready to go to work, and my phone was ringing. I heard the phone ring while I was in the shower, and I didn't answer because I was in the shower, and it rang a second time, and I noticed it was coming from my friend's wife, who I don't know if she had ever called me before. So I picked up the phone, and she told me the news that he had passed away, and I'm standing there, buck naked, dripping wet on the kitchen floor, and she's
Oh
telling
no.
me, well, she's telling us. I thought to myself, sad, but also he would love this situation. He would think it was hilarious. So, I mean, death not fun, but that one, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, later I understood, and I don't know all the details, but I think that something in his medication caused something. So it wasn't all diabetes.
Oh no.
He died. And this is a really fun story all of a sudden, isn't it?
Talking about the death of a friend,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
How do we find humor in this? Come on.
I don't know. We're going to do a Dead Pilots podcast at some point because I'm sure we all know
Okay.
plenty of them.
We do, unfortunately.
But back to the medical situation. So you got yours back after this review board talked to each other, I guess. And
Well,
they
let me
said,
precursor that. Let me precursor that because at the airline that I worked at the time, we had a union, and the unions have an aeromedical division whose sole job is to make sure that the pilots get back to work quickly and healthily. Not all aviation jobs have that.
well, that is a good thing. Although sometimes I see some of these guys, and we all have to retire at the age of 65 in the airline world. Maybe not so much in your world, but in the airline world, they got to retire at 65. And I see some of these people who are still flying around, and I can't believe that they're not yet 65 or even 85 based on the bodies they're walking around in. And I can't help but wonder sometimes if the unions are helping people that maybe should be helped out the door.
But I absolutely feel you on that in some cases. Kind of wonder, how relaxed their doctors are before writing that certificate. But
Well,
the union helped me expedite the process of getting healthy.
I'm
I
glad to
was
hear that.
healthy and qualified when I got that medical certificate back. But in some cases, they've been termed people waiting a year, year and a half, 2 years to get the approval to come back. I got mine back in 3 months, but it took a major lifestyle change, a lot of work on my end, and then a lot of work on their end, paperwork wise. So,
But now you're back, and I presume you're living with this, but you're still healthy? Yeah?
absolutely,
You're
yeah,
getting along? You're doing better than ever? Fantastic.
healthier than I've been in the last 10 years, and gotta stay healthy. Want to be around for my family for a long time.
Yeah, we all want that. Now, it's interesting. And I keep coming back to this. We want these doctors that don't look too deep because what you went through took how long?
From discovery to return to work, 4 months.
Okay, 4 months. And I would say, honestly, that sounds kind of quick.
Yes,
Yeah.
overnight. My diet changed overnight. My exercise regimen changed. My sleep schedule changed. I never took medication in my whole life. And I didn't care what medication they wanted to give me as long as it got me back to work, because this is what we do to pay the bill.
Yeah. Those are not easy changes to make. How lazy do most of us become over the course of a lifetime?
Aviation has got to be one of the most unhealthy professions
How much
in
time?
existence.
Think about how much downtime do we have to just sit around and be lazy?
Well, let me tell you about a 12-hour day at the airline. I
Oh,
spend 2 hours after I roll out of bed driving to the airport. And then I get off my butt out of my car and I sit in the shuttle bus.
mm-hmm.
And then I get off that shuttle bus and I sit at the gate.
Yeah.
And then I get down the jet bridge. I walk, 100 yards? And then I
Right.
sit down and start pushing buttons. And then we get in the air and we sit there for 5 hours.
So there's a lot of possibility for atrophy,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah. Let's
with
use
all
that
that
term.
sitting. Yeah. I mean, really,
And then you
you're
get to
right.
the hotel, there's a gym there, but you're exhausted. You've been going
Yeah.
for 12, you've been awake for 12, 14 hours. You're not going to go for a run. Some
No.
guys do.
No, some guys do, and I applaud them, but I can't. I just finished a 3-day trip where I started every day at 5 a.m. and or earlier, and then you spend 10, 12 hours in that flight deck. Yeah, There's
What do
time.
you do to keep active on the road?
I do a lot of walking. I will go out and just explore wherever I am, uh, as much as I can. But there are times I don't want to do anything. Um, this last trip, yeah, you finish your day and it's straight to the room, not leaving, done. My brain can't handle anything. I'm surely not going out to party with anybody. That's for sure.
You walk all the way to the Brazilian steakhouse.
I think that was across the street.
Yeah, it wasn't a very far walk at all. That
No,
was not a very
no,
healthy overnight. Yeah.
it's not. But these doctors, and I don't know what it takes to become one of these. A lot of them are pilots, but I think they go through some scrutiny themselves at the FAA. I had one when I lived in another state that I really enjoyed going to because he was kind of, listen to your heart, listen to your chest. Are you exercising? You lie, yes. Okay, here, see you in 6 months. And this guy, he was always snappily dressed. He had a very fancy tie. He had slicked back hair, and he also had an unexplainable John Lennon fetish. There were John Lennon posters and artwork and lyrics all over the walls of this guy's office. And I found it strange, but I enjoyed it. Even after I moved to another state, I would still manage to come to this guy for my medical every 6 months because you don't want to give it up when it's a good one. In fact, I would work it out on a layover, or if I had to go down, if I was in that city during training, I would figure out a way to get over there and get that certificate every 6 months. So I eventually, that got old.
Sorry, my late night hockey practice. She's still awake.
Late night hockey practice.
8:15 to 9:15. Back here by 10. The whole house is asleep except for the two of us.
How old is this child?
She is almost 11.
Oh my gosh, that's a late night practice for that age.
It sure is. It is.
Okay. Well, it's hard to get them to wind down, and just like us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They work, and then they said, "Hey, by the way, go to sleep for 8 hours. Be back here again at 7 a.m." What?
Yeah. Good luck
You just
with
gotta
that.
turn off the switch.
I know. I was in. This is the thing. I got like 4 hours of sleep the other night on a night when I got in at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I could have gone. I think I went to bed at like 8. I could have gotten 8 hours, but I didn't. And then they wonder sometimes why we don't get ourselves, our mental health. That's a whole big no-no, right? You can't have
we
any
don't talk about that. Everyone's happy all the time. There's no mental health issues in aviation.
Never unhappy. But we wouldn't talk about it anyway. So, and even if we did, that's like total disqualification. That's why you got people like pulling, what was it? They pulled the fire alarm, shut off the engines one day. A jump seater did that on a plane.
That was drug influenced. I don't think. I mean, mental health maybe check, but definitely under the influence of mushrooms.
I guess so.
But the mushrooms were a unofficial self-medication for issues we can't seek help for. All right. Disclaimer: it's bureaucracy. It's bureaucracy that we can't seek the help.
Yeah. Well, better that we just hold all that stuff down and fly around and see what happens. Then
1952, baby, just bottle it up.
That's it. The silent generation running things, right?
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to check pilot mental health, nobody is going to fly anywhere for the holidays because all your pilots are going to be disqualified from flying December 22nd to December 28th. You can't tell me that pilot that's flying through Christmas isn't sad.
No, you know what? You can extend that for me. Give me the day after Halloween through, beginning of New Year.
So nobody gets to fly anywhere in this FAA governed region between October 30th and January 4th.
There you go. Yeah.
Pilots don't work. We're home with our families, happy for our mental health.
That's it. Just like regular people.
That works perfect.
Well, whatever works. And who wants to go anywhere in the airports are crowded. The roads are busy. You got to take all this stuff. We had a family come and stayed with us, and guess what they left? And they left a whole bunch of stuff behind because you can't trust kids to pack properly. So now I'm full of stuff that belongs to someone else, and what do I do with it? So yeah, stay home, everybody. or at the
Let me
very
elaborate. Let me elaborate on this mental health thing. So
okay.
before we fly, we have this acronym, the I'm Safe checklist. It goes
Oh,
back
I'm
to the student
safe.
pilot days. Remember that?
That's right. Yes.
So I stands for illness, M stands for medication, S stands for stress, A stands for what's A again? I can't remember.
I don't know because I didn't write it down.
Oh, F is fatigue, E is emotions. So you're supposed to go through this I'm safe checklist, and maybe I missed one in there. Anyway, you self-analyze yourself before every flight,
For
allegedly.
every flight. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
However, we're doing this to pay our bills. This is our job. Also, there's 200 people behind us that need to go see grandma at Christmas.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that on Christmas Eve, when your wife and kids are at home, and the fireplace is on, and the stockings are hanging, and you 300, 1,300 miles away, and you're not going to be back for a couple of days, you're telling me that you can safely say, I'm emotionally good to fly. I'm not stressed.
You're not
No.
humming I'll be home for Christmas the whole way with a tear in your eye.
And then you
No.
get those passengers that have the balls to just like, oh, sorry you're working on Christmas. Well, dude, if you didn't buy the damn ticket, I wouldn't be here working on Christmas.
That's funny. I mean, it's sad. It's sad, but yeah, no, we're
Just don't
okay.
sell
It's all
tickets for
good.
the 24th
It's
and
good.
26th. Well, yeah, okay.
Happy to do it. I love it. I love the job so much that I want to sacrifice all those other things just to fly. And if you
You're
believe
lying.
that, I am lying. Yeah. 100% I'm
For those who
lying.
don't have a sarcasm detector through the microphone, mine went through the roof.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's what we do. And we do it because all the other perks outweigh that stuff, to be perfectly honest. And I've thought about this a lot. You know, my kids growing up are not ever going to say that I wasn't around when it mattered because holidays and birthdays come and go, school plays come and go. But it's that random Tuesday when, you know, you're home and you're just there. And I think those things, those moments far outweigh the not being there on a few holidays early enough. And if you do this career long enough, you end up accruing enough seniority that you will be home on Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that other jazz. So,
There's another angle to it that I've taught my family over the years, and the day on the calendar isn't the day. It's the dinner we have, not the day on the calendar that we have the dinner.
yeah,
So for Thanksgiving, if I'm working on Thanksgiving, I don't know, Thanksgiving moves every year. So say it was the 27th. Well, if I'm home on the 25th, I tell all the family, everyone, we're doing Thanksgiving on the 25th.
yeah, that
And if the
works.
kids have school or practice or whatever, they're going to miss it. It's our holiday.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
know
everyone
what?
else's holiday, but it's our holiday. And then we had Thanksgiving. It's just a day on the calendar.
Yeah. I remember one year shortly after I upgraded, I now you go to the bottom of the seniority list again because you're in a different seat. So I'm captain. I'm senior enough to be a captain, but I'm a junior captain. So now I'm back on reserve, which means I'm just on call. And I was on call, or maybe I wasn't even on call. I got assigned a trip and I couldn't get out of Christmas. And that year, Santa was so busy that he sent out letters to certain kids at certain households. He said, look, man, I got to start early this year. So I'm going to be coming to your house a few days early. So if you could have
That's
everything,
cool.
if you could have everything ready, have your tree up, have the cookies and the reindeer stuff. And my kids loved being among the first ones to have their Christmas that year.
How cool.
Yeah. Right up until like a year or two ago when they found a copy of the letter before it was mailed out that
Ruh-roh.
so somebody's spouse had taken a photo of and you know were so proud and sending it to everyone to show, look what we pulled off.
Our mental health is totally in check. You still have to have a good heart rate. You have to have a good EKG.
Yeah.
Let's
So
see. What else do they check? Lung capacity. They listen to your lungs.
yeah. Now, ideally, to keep all these things in check, you're going to be doing exercise on the regular.
I think we went over that. That doesn't really happen.
I don't even mean like on the layovers. Like you're sitting around at home. All your friends have real jobs. You don't have anybody to play with during the day. What are you going to do? You go to the
Mow the
gym?
lawn.
Mow the
No.
lawn? No, you don't go to the lawn.
I find other reason to get sweaty. I mean, smooth things around. Bring bags of dirt across the yard. Just Be
Oh,
active.
you're bringing up a story. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. So years ago, you want to hear another horror story? This is an aviation medical horror story. I survived this. I was putting a garden together, bringing heavy bags of dirt across the yard. The next day, somehow in the 24 hours from the time I moved the dirt to when I had to go out to training, I forgot that I had moved the dirt. I wake up the next morning and I have this pain in my back. I'm out at training. I'm going to recurrent, which is a day of classroom stuff, followed by several days of simulator training. Day one, I'm in the classroom. Actually, it was before I even got there. I woke up in the hotel room and my back hurt imagine somebody took the pain stick, inserted it into your back, dialed it up to 10, then dialed it down, then dialed it back up again, dialed it back down, and kept doing that all day long. That's what I was
No.
feeling. Yeah. And
Oh,
so I go to recurrent and I'm sitting there in class, which is painful enough just to sit through all of that book stuff, the regulations and how we run our airline. And but I was in sheer pain and everybody in the room could see me because I couldn't hide my face and everybody's trying to diagnose me. I'm texting my wife and she's on
you
Dr.
already
Google.
know what you did.
No, I had forgotten. I had completely forgotten that I did that in the course
Oh
of
no.
one day. But listen, so she's on Dr. Google. And there's a guy in the class like you, married to a physician. He's communicating with her, giving her all my symptoms, and everybody decided that I had kidney stones.
Oh,
So I was like, I just need to get to the end of this day because one of the worst pains in the world is coming back and sitting through ground school again. So I go out to the emergency room. My sim partner, he's like, I'll just wait for you in the parking lot. I was like, are you kidding me? Have you never been in an emergency? I'll be here till midnight. And I was. And they went through every conceivable test there was. Now, I was back up. This is 1 week after I had gotten my medical certificate, which came with an EKG. Now, I'm back in the ER, and amongst all the other tests they're doing, MRIs, CAT scans, you name it, another EKG, my second one in 2 weeks. And I'm next to a guy he's actually there for a diagnosed kidney stone. And I'm watching this guy writhe in pain. I'm like, I'm not even close to the pain that this guy's in. So I don't know what I had. And one lady thought I had an aortic dissection, which I'd never even heard of. I very quickly Googled that and I said, no, I would be dead already. That's like your heart just explodes. So in the end, they decide I have a muscle spasm brought on probably from hauling those heavy bags of dirt. And so the rule is take a week off, no lifting anything over 15 pounds, which suitcase, flight bag, and
40
no raising your hand above your head, which is something that you
overhead.
constantly, overhead in the flight deck where all the buttons and switches are. So I can't do that. I'm supposed to go in the morning. So I got to call out for that. I got to get home, and now I got to get a week off work. Now, at home, there is a nasty cough going around, and I catch it. And then in this situation where I'm laying in bed one night, where I would otherwise have been in a hotel, but because I'm now off sick for this cough just overtakes me. And I'm laying in bed. I don't want to wake up my lady. So I get up to go get a glass of water. As I cross the threshold into the restroom, and I don't even know this was possible, I coughed so hard that I fainted. I,
Oh,
I,
I'm
com-
very familiar with that.
you are.
I
Oh,
am.
you are. You've done this?
Couple, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're the first person I've ever told this story to who has, because everybody else is like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do this because I didn't know you could do this. Yeah.
Yeah, we totaled our minivan because of that.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
December 20th, so a couple weeks ago.
Oh, this just happened. Oh, I can't wait for you to tell your AME, aviation
Tell
medical examiner.
which we will never do.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. When you passed out, do you have any recollection of it happening? Was there any sensation that you uh, felt? Because when it happened to
Yeah,
me, it was complete joy and bliss. if I can put it in any. I mean, I felt like I had gone to sleep. I didn't remember going to sleep, but I felt pretty good and I enjoyed being asleep. The only thing is I had been in bed reading. I had my glasses on and I didn't remember taking my glasses off. So I opened my eyes to see if I had taken my glasses off at about the exact moment that my wife came busting into the room, threw on the light switch, said, "What the F just happened?" And now that the light is on, I realized that where my pillow should have been was the toilet. And I'm lying face down in a puddle of blood on the tile floor because
Oh no.
I bit my lip and my jaw was all askew. And yeah,
Oh no. How long do you think you were out for?
couple seconds.
Yep. Just a second and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Same for you? Didn't feel it.
I had previous experience almost getting there. So I knew
Okay.
it was coming, unfortunately. I get like a tingly, I don't know, starry, how would you describe it? Like tingly white speckles in your eyes. Everything kind of
Yeah.
just blacks out,
Stars.
whites
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was leaving a parking spot with the wheel cut in the van, um, along a curb that had a fire hydrant in it. So I did the big call right at the end of an exhale.
Ah.
Your body doesn't have any more air to give you,
Yeah.
but you should be inhaling, but your body's like, now you're coughing, you're exhaling.
Mm-hmm.
But my body's also like, hey, there ain't no more air to go out.
So
So,
we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause
we're
life
just going
right
to
here.
pause for one and a
Yeah.
half seconds with the wheel cut and the car
Oh.
doing four and a
Oh
half,
my.
5 miles an hour all the way into a fire hydrant.
Jeez, my goodness. And your whole family's in
Mhm.
the car at this point?
Everybody but my wife, all the
Oh
kids.
no. Oh no.
Thankfully, it was just a few miles an hour. It was just a scrape down the whole side of the minivan down.
Nobody's injured?
Oh, no, no,
Everybody's
no,
buckled up
no.
for safety. Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
I was not buckled up for safety. I went face first into the bathroom floor.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next morning, I'm feeling kind of funky, as you might expect. So it's off to the ER again. Now, my second visit to the ER in a week, I get my third EKG in 3 weeks, diagnose me with a concussion. And
Interesting.
yeah, no, this is on like a Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, something like that. And I'm supposed to fly on like Saturday. So I said, well, okay, I've got a concussion. So what's next? She says, well, 3-4 days, symptoms free. You're fine. Just, resume normal life. I said, okay, well, I'm supposed to fly on Saturday. She goes, oh yeah, that you should be fine. And I looked at her for a second. I realized she didn't know what I was talking. I said, let me explain what I'm talking about when I say I am flying on Saturday. She said,
The
oh,
pilot. Yeah.
yeah, I said, I can't clear you for that. So now this brings up another question. So she says, you got to get cleared by your company. So
Oh, no.
I'm putting you in this just now. Keep in mind, I have a head injury at this point, right? So what do you do? Who do you call?
Nobody.
You call nobody.
You want my legitimate answer?
Yeah.
I
I
think
want your
there's a
legit
movie
answer.
out there where they said treat them like mushrooms, right? Keep them in the dark. That's the way we deal with our federal government right now.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's how you keep your bills paid.
I think that's the right answer. Unfortunately, I got it wrong. I called the company. I get the chief pilot on the phone and I start to explain it. I say, I hit my head. He says, stop. Don't say another word. He said, call the union. Now,
That's a good leader.
Well, yes. And when we get to the end of this story, I'll ask you to reevaluate that. But so I call the union and I explain it to them and they say, okay, we're going to set you up with one of our doctors. And, but it's going to take a few, in the meanwhile, just keep calling out sick. So I used up all my sick time. I eventually get an appointment with this doctor, but I'm talking back and forth constantly with this union rep who's telling me horror stories. Like you said in the beginning, sometimes it takes people years to get their medical certificate. He told me the story of a guy who was on a layover in a bar, but not even drinking, just there, fell off a bar stool, hit his head. It took him 2 years and a literal act of Congress. He had to get his congressman involved to get his medical certificate. And
Isn't it
here,
sad?
it's not only sad, but why are you telling me these things? Because I don't need this at this point in my life, right?
It's infuriating to know about, but when you're in the seat facing that situation, boy, it is. And your bills are at stake, your
Scary,
family's
scary. Yeah,
livelihood. Yeah.
yeah. So I went. This whole process from beginning end took about 6 weeks for me. So I guess overall not bad. Of course, I used up all my sick time. Um, they eventually send me down to this doctor, and I had to fly across the country to see this guy who gives me the most thorough examination I have ever received in my life. I mean, hearing tests, eye tests, bend over, touch your toes, do this, do that. He watched me pee in a cup. Like, he got up close and personal with my digits. And the very last thing he did is one more, fourth EKG in 4 weeks. And I'm laying there on the table, having gone through all of this stuff. And he goes, huh.
Oh no.
But I said, what is it? I said, what's huh? What does that mean? He goes, well, I'm going to run another one. We'll just do one more. And then, so, huh. So what does that mean? He says, well, it's borderline. Okay, borderline. I don't know what that means. He goes, I'm just going to run one more. So he runs a third EKG. He goes, yeah, it's borderline. So I don't know what borderline means. He goes, well, it means, on one side, you're doing great and I send you home. On the other side, you are getting in an ambulance to the ER. I
So
said,
the
well,
last
which?
three, yeah.
So here's the deal. So he says, everything else has checked out great. I think you're probably okay. You go home, fly all the way home, fly back across the country. By the time you land, I will have called a cardiology friend of mine. I will go over it, and I'm sure that you will be cleared to fly. So,
And this is an FAA doctor you spoke to?
yeah. This is a
Okay.
guy who sends me home feeling somewhat confident. The next day, I get a call. Yeah, you got to go have a stress test done, like immediately, right now. So now I got to find a doctor's office, a cardiologist's office that will give me a stress test exactly like now. And not only that, but it's not just like any general stress test. Per the FAA, there's a whole set of criteria that I have to follow. And I just like, okay, send me. I said, send it to me. He says he's sending this information to the doctor. I said, I want it too, so that when I walk in there, everybody's on the same page. So I walk in, and the way it works is you got to get all these pictures taken of your heart, and then you get on this treadmill and you got to run. And it is very specific. You run for like 8 minutes or 9 minutes, and then you got to, whatever it is they're measuring has to reach like 80% of
I
whatever
can't run for 8 minutes. Who can run for 8 minutes?
Well, I did. I'm in fantastic shape.
You sure are.
I wasn't then. So yeah, you got to run for 8 minutes, and then they're measuring whatever it is they're measuring has to reach 80%. And then within 5 seconds, you got to get back on that table and have them taking more pictures. So I go in there, and there's one lady that takes the pictures of my heart, and then I get on the treadmill. She walks out, another girl comes in, does the treadmill part. And then she says, okay, it's time to get back on the table for more pictures. She's doing the second set of pictures when the first girl sits her head in and says, hey, did he run for 8 minutes and 80%? And the second girl, she's paused for a second. She goes, well, we did 8 minutes. And right there, I knew that this is not going to be a valid result. And it wasn't. I had to go back a second time. And I passed the second time. But what I found out was that on this EKG that gave this doctor pause, when it prints out the little blip on the paper, these little, choop, choop,
Yep.
choop, when it prints that out on the paper, each of those little blips is expected to be a certain distance away from each other, like an inch or 2 inches, whatever it is. They're expecting to see that specific distance. Mine were closer together, what he called a short PR interval. And I got curious about this. So I called Oklahoma City, and I was able to get a copy of every EKG I'd ever had. And I took them back to that cardiologist who was the final say in whether I go back to work. And I showed her all of these. And do you know what every single one of those EKGs showed?
The exact same thing.
Exact same thing. Yeah,
So
that's
it
the
was
way
okay for all of those doctors, just not the
yeah,
other doctor.
yeah,
So they
exactly.
claim that they do it the right way. They claim that they do it to a standard, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not to standard. Everyone has their own.
Yeah, yeah. Now here's the kicker. I paid $500 to that doctor who didn't clear me. He did give me a hat though, so it's
Oh,
$500 on a hat.
that's how you
So
know
it
you
was
overpaid for things.
right,
Just
right.
so you know, folks at
Um,
home, if you buy a boat or you buy a car and they give you merch with your purchase, you overpaid.
yeah, um, it's true. So now the kicker was we had a clause in our contract that said if the company sends you to a doctor for any reason and it turns out you're fine, not only will the company reimburse you for all medical expenses, they will also reinstate any sick time that you have used during this whole procedure, which for me was
Yeah,
all of it. So yeah, so I start that process right away. And immediately I get a call from the chief pilot. He says, "What's this all about?" I said, "Well, I called to tell you about this, and then I had to go see this doctor." He goes, "Yeah, I didn't tell you to go see that doctor." I said, "But you oh, no. You told me to call the
that's why.
union. The union set this whole thing up, so I got wiped out of all of it.
Oh, oh,
All
he
I
knew
had,
exactly what he was doing.
he did. So yeah,
They've done this a time or two.
I do still have the hat, but thing. Hey, let me ask you
What the
this: you ever been to a really bad doctor?
aviation or in general?
Well, either. I mean, aviation is the theme of the day, but yeah.
So I got to say, as good as the doctor was that diagnosed me, I hate him for it.
Well, it is his fault.
It's a love-hate thing. I mean, he fixed my lifestyle and probably added years to my life by fixing it before I let myself get too far down a hole.
It's
And
another
at
one
the
of those.
same time,
It's another one of those instances where somebody went looking for a problem and they found it.
mhm,
If you don't look for it, it doesn't come up.
I
I
was in denial. I
Yeah.
mean, I really did treat myself like crap. I mean, I remember getting in the plane before the medical issue and asking for the big bag of M&Ms.
Those
You
M&Ms
know,
are delicious.
I remember going to
That's
the hotel and getting, the one guy'd get a beer, I'd get a pina colada, and it's okay to have a drink, but when you do it with a pina colada, you're having a dessert and a drink,
yeah. So got to
and
be
then you get
careful.
ice cream after. It's like, wow, look at that! I just gave myself to, and that it really is. Everybody's body is different, and everybody's medical conditions are different. Some people can tolerate a lot more or less than others.
Some people I can't believe are able to just operate life, and here they are flying airplanes. You know, I
Yeah,
see, like I
yeah.
said, I see these old guys, and I'm not a young kid myself, but I think I look pretty good. Ever since I had that tattoo of my 30-year-old face put on my regular face, I've managed to stay as young as I
That
can.
is that what that happened?
That's what I did. Uh, but no, I went. So I moved across the country, and I'd been going down to see that John Lennon guy for a while. This is a pain in the ass. So I started asking around, where does everybody go? And everybody kept telling me the same guy. So, okay, I'll go. And I walk in this guy. And pilots, we can pick each other out of a lineup pretty easily. In fact, I was on vacation with the family and I was in an elevator in a hotel and I just knew that the other guy in there was a pilot and I called him on it and I was right. And my wife was just like astounded. So I walk into this doctor's office and it is just a pilot mill. You can see them all just like, I felt pretty dirty just being there, but made worse by the fact this doctor was back. It was his first day back from 2 weeks of vacation and he was just railing into his staff for letting the operation fall apart in his absence, but doing it in the middle of my exam.
Oh,
And he was one of these guys that had me doing all this extreme stuff that no other doctor had ever had me do before. And he was just angry and bitter. And he had a beard, which no doctor should have. Does your wife have a beard? You're taking too long to answer that. No, she shouldn't have a beard. No doctor should have a beard. I might have PTSD from another incident once where I went to a doctor, not aviation related, but I went to a doctor. I'd never seen this doctor before. And I'm sitting in his office and a man walked in with a beard and no white lab coat didn't introduce himself, but sat down and started asking me very personal questions. And it turned out he was the doctor, but boy, what an experience. And maybe he didn't want to introduce himself because his name was slang for a certain part of the male anatomy. But
Oh boy.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I don't like bearded doctors, maybe because of him. Oh, and then it was worse. So I'm checking out of this doctor's office, this tyrant with the beard, and on the wall behind me is this magazine cover, like a TV Guide style magazine. You
Okay.
remember TV Guide?
Absolutely.
All right. So
They even
it's
had the app when the app came out.
well, this was an actual framed copy of this magazine, whatever magazine, whether it was real or not. I gotta believe it was fake because in the corner of it was a little picture of bearded doctor, and it said TV's hottest docs. Like, really? No. So never again. I never went back to him. I found a great guy that I like now, and he's keeping me healthy by not asking questions, and that's what we need.
Are you saying that doctors have an ego?
Uh, More than any pilot I've ever met.
See, I'm going to disagree with you there. I think pilots have worse egos than doctors.
Oh, they absolutely do. I don't know. I don't know if you have an ego
I mean, you ever
competition, who
seen a
would win.
movie that glorifies doctors the way Top Gun glorifies pilots?
No, but I saw Airplane once, and I don't know if you can make that same argument.
Good call. Touche. Tell me something about these doctors that hand out medical certificates. These are doctors that do like a side hustle with aviation stuff.
A lot of them only do the aviation stuff. Some of them are general practitioners, and yeah, some of them are like the guy that I saw with the beard. I think that's the only thing he does.
Okay.
But a lot of them are pilots themselves, so they get it.
Okay.
Which is, I think that's what you want.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they, because they have to understand that, like for the professional pilots. I mean, you're doing this for a living, so when they tell you can't fly, they're telling you can't work.
Right. I mean, I guess it would be nice if someone could say to them, hey, well, you can't be a doctor because for whatever reason. And, they would have some sort of understanding. But I think they get it because a lot of them are pilots.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know what. I think they have to go through some sort of hoops, some sort of rigmarole to get this aviation examiner certificate. But, everybody's always asking for a good one.
Yeah. If anyone listening to the podcast has some more in-depth information from doctors and aviation doctors, maybe they know why or how they get verified, or I can talk to my wife, see if she knows anything about it. I think we know an
She
Amy.
might. Well, anybody that has a question about it or a comment should send us an email to catsonguard@gmail.com.
I like that.
We'll take them. We'll answer them best we can. If not, we look it up.
I like it.
All right. Well, we should try to do this when the sun is shining next time.
I like it. We'll do, let's do a Ask Crack of Dawn episode where we wake up with coffee.
Sounds like
Do you do coffee? Are you a coffee guy?
I'm not a coffee drinker. No, that's how
Tea?
I stay. I tried tea. Coffee to me, I don't like the flavor. I get a lot of my caffeine from drinking soda pop, which is not good for you. So
what is your morning beverage when you get to the airport?
Water.
Okay.
Yeah, just water. And, I cut a lot of that stuff that I wasn't supposed to be drinking out, and I did lose a lot of weight and exercise, and so that I could go to my doctor and honestly say to him, yes, I've been doing all these things that you want me to do. And it worked.
It's really important. I mean, if anyone out there is not have a medical certificate or a pilot certificate and is considering a career or even as a recreational field, the medical and the pilot certificate, they go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other.
And I've heard it said before you even take your first flight lesson, which you can do without this, but before you get too deep into it, go get that medical certificate, because if you have any disqualifying conditions, then don't waste your time and money on it.
Yep. Yeah. And honest, and don't be shot to the ground either. If they do tell you you're not qualified, that doesn't mean you can't fly planes. You can go rent a plane with an instructor and go fly anytime necessary. You can take your wife and kids up. There's options.
There you go. I think we've beat this to death. Until next time, my name is MC Howe.
And I'm Captain Richard Billiot.
We will talk to you again. Send us an email, catsonguard@gmail.com. Come back. Fly with us again.